Hey there guys, it's Nervous Trading Cards. Today I'm going to be going over my personal history of Cardfight Vanguard with the entire game, the community, and all of that. And yeah, as you can probably see, still kind of experimenting, trying to figure out different lighting and audio quality and setups and stuff. So we'll end up seeing how this ends up going. Right now, this is probably going to be the best I can make a video with audio, even though I'm having to have them split and I'll have to go in and remix them. But, that's just simply how it works, and with that being said, let's get into it, starting with the very first set, Descent of the King of Knights. So, basically, I ended up finding out about Vanguard from a YouTube video that was like, top 10 card game anime, I think is what it was. Ended up seeing Vanguard on there, and I ended up watching like all the first 50 episodes, because I was out in Japan at the time. I was like, you know what? I kind of want this, I like Yu-Gi-Oh, but I've been kind of wanting something more. I've been kind of getting tired of Yu-Gi-Oh at this point, because it was the XC's era, and that was kind of, well, it brought in a lot of people, also turned away a lot of people, so, yeah, but then everything changed whenever I walked into a Walgreens. It was a Kmart. Yeah, it was a Kmart. And I ended up seeing, in that Kmart, the very first booster, Descent of the King of Knights. And I was like, what? It's actually released? And so I instantly went to all my Walmarts and everything, trying to find some. All I was finding was the first two boosters, and extra booster, I think, 03 Cavalry of Black Steel. I'd usually see like triple packs of them, but it was just those three boosters and the Limit Break, the first Limit Break decks, the Garmor and the Thunder Break trial decks. That's all I could find anywhere. But whenever I finally got the money to get for a trial deck, because it was $20 no matter where I went here, I ended up getting the Narukami trial deck, just because it was the only one I could find. My friend then ended up introducing the game to with that Narukami trial deck, so I just split the deck in half. He ended up going off to Walmart and found the Gold Paladin trial deck himself. After playing for a bit, we ended up switching decks, and I was like, I like Paladins more than Dragons and Demons, and he's like, I do too. You want to switch back? And I'm like, nah. But anyways, so things seem to keep going, and I'm enjoying the game, but there's just still something, I haven't really found my deck yet. And I've really been liking the Royal Paladin so far, just, this whole unity type working together thing to try to create something greater, to make something more. And I was just wondering when I'd be able to eventually be able to build any of that, but I just could not find the stuff anywhere, so I had to turn online. But I didn't have any money at the time. I was still a teenager, and it just ultimately came down to the fact that I was like, well, I guess I'm just not going to be able to really buy any product. I was able to buy a few booster packs every now and then from Walmart, but I never pulled anything, so it was quite sad. But then one day, fate decided this. So my friend came over with his little brother, and his little brother found a gift card under my bed. And he said, hey, can I have this? And I'm like, sure, why not? There's probably just a few cents left on it. He said, okay. But he ended up forgetting it there. Next, I ended up discovering that he ended up forgetting. We're like, you know what? Let me check how much I have on this gift card. And to the penny, it was enough for me to buy a Royal Paladin trial deck, the original Blaster Blade trial deck online, which was like $25-ish, I think, at the time. Just because they were a little hard to find after shipping and stuff. And I just got that ordered. It came in the mail. I was super excited. And boy, did I just keep doing that CB2 with Ganslot to win, because no one had perfect cards back then. And I kept crit stacking. And I was just having so much fun just flashing off these shiny cards. And I just was enjoying myself. And then everything started to slightly change whenever Awakening of Twin Blades officially released in English. And I had already seen Majesty Lord Blaster in anime, and I was like, oh yes, I need this. But Blaster Darks and Majesty Lord Blaster were dumb high expensive. My friend ended up finally finding one Blaster Blade trial deck himself and bought it, because he wanted to try and experiment with Royals. He eventually said, this isn't for me, and gave me his trial deck, so I finally had 4 Ganslot and 2 Blaster Blade, which was very nice, because neither one of us really had money at the time. And with Blaster Darks, I think they were like $15 to $20 at the time. Same with Majesty Lord. But eventually I ended up being able to go to a card shop, and I ended up pulling a Wingle Brave, and that made me super excited. And then my dad ended up saying, "So you need some cards?" I'm like, "Yeah, I need a Blaster Dark and a Majesty Lord Blaster." He's like, "How many you need?" I don't have a whole bunch of money, but I can help you. It's like, I need at least just one of them. And so he ended up buying me a Blaster Dark and a Majesty Lord Blaster. And that's where it really ended up beginning. I only had one Majesty, one Blaster Dark, and two Blaster Blade. But I also ended up pulling one or two star calls. So I had 2 star calls and a Wingle Brave. And then ended up finding the Alfred Early promo for $1 online. So I ended up getting that as well. And I ended up just building the best deck that I could with what I had, and I played that deck for years until eventually Liberators came out in the Break Ride era, in which I was like, oh man, the Blaster Blade and the boys are back! And I just instantly did my best to try and build them. Unfortunately, I never really got anywhere. I ended up buying the trial decks and ended up getting some stuff here and there, but I was never able to really properly build the deck. Fortunately, Gansel and Blast Blade were into TD, so it was fine enough for me. But eventually, things ended up going, the Break Ride era ended up passing, and none of us really ended up getting to build anything, because we still were just teenagers with no jobs in high school. But all of that would end up changing slightly when we would start to get our part-time jobs, and the Legion era trial decks came out. And my friend really wanted to play Seekers, I really wanted to play Seekers, but it eventually came down to, alright, I'm the resident Royal Paladin player, so all the trial decks ended up going to me that we got. He ended up getting all of the Link Joker trial decks, and we had another friend that ended up getting all the Liberator trial decks. Him and my 2 friends that got the Liberator and Link Joker trial decks ended up swapping, so we now have all 3 of these trial decks, and we have them all maxed out. We actually even start to get some of the cards from the boosters, because now we're starting to get able to spend money on boosters. In fact, he even orders 4 boxes of Legion of Dragon and Blades, which out of those 4 boxes, he pulls 5 Alfreds. Yeah, he pulled 5 Alfreds out of those 4 boxes. Only one thing saver. That's what he was trying to build for. And that's out. Yeah, that was the point where he gave me all of his secret trial decks. He's like, F it, I don't want this anymore. He's like, take your Alfreds. At least the place I'm selling the other one. It was either 5 or 6 they had. He ended up selling those. And that's pretty much where it ended up going. I played Seekers for the longest time until, G Era came out. And I just started mixing the early alt mile in with decks. I really liked alt mile. Now, like I said, I still have some money coming in because I now have a part-time job. And so I'm able to pretty much build alt mile completely up during the first 4 boosters. And my friend, that's my roommate now, ends up building Gear Chronicle up. And we're just really having a fun time. He also ended up getting Liberators from the Legion era completely built up, so he had all the Bluish Flame stuff. So that was still his main deck during the early G eras. That was still a really, really strong deck. Throughout this period, though, of the Legion era, we finally ended up being able to go to some tournaments. We ended up never majorly win any regionals, but we ended up, having fun with majorly. We just didn't come close. There was one where we got really close, where we almost made it to the top 16 cut, but both of us lost our matches in order to get to the top 16 cut, which was very sad. Now, at this point, we are starting to want to move more to being able to play with other people, but there's just no local card shops in the area. The closest one's like 3 hours away. No, and my mom's not going to want to drive us, and we don't have our cars yet. So, eventually, a card shop that's only about 40 minutes away ends up finally adopting Bushiroad products. And we go there, and we meet so many people. We meet like 20 different people playing Vanguard. And while things end up trickling out throughout the years, it was just super exciting to finally be able to play. Because, like, a lot of them were kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Douchebags. That played Vanguard, and yeah, I didn't get along with most of them, but it was still fun to play in a bigger environment, and half those people did eventually end up sticking around, and they were still actively going and playing the game. And I still talk with them on my group chats, even though I'm no longer living in the area, and it just blossomed into this really fun environment where we just kind of memed and everything just kind of kept going good throughout all the G era, up until the end of the G era, which is basically the problem that we have with the B series right now, where basically every set started power creeping the last set, and everything was just effing insane. And everything was just pretty much, I stride, and I have 2 CB, I win. And no one, well, I shouldn't say no one, because there was plenty of people that did like it. For me personally, I just didn't like it. In fact, I think my main issue I ended up having was the fact that Legion stuff was pretty much almost completely tied to Legion. All the G-era stuff was completely tied to G-Break. And as much as I liked these effects, the fact that I wasn't doing anything during those first 2, and if I was going first 3 turns of the game, and just kind of slapping down cards and passing, just for it to just explode with power on stride, it just wasn't working for me. So, whenever they said the reboot was happening, V-Series coming, they were just taking away the G-Zone, I was honestly pretty excited. I'm going to be honest. As much as I like the G-Zone, I was just kind of fed with G at that point, and it's horrible balancing. Although, we'll say, the card design was still, like, pretty interesting during G, and the art direction is some of the best that's seen new D-Series. Looks like it might be the first time in, a while to compare to the G-Series art, which has me excited as hell. And so we go from the end of G into V series, where of course, me being the resident local Royal Paladin player, decides to end up, hey, I'm going to collect every Royal Paladin card in the V series, which ends up leading to this. And is the binder over here? Hang on. There. It ends up leading into this. So yes, I have a playset of every single Royal Paladin card to come out of the V-Series with an SVR of every single VR that has an SVR, as well as I ended up getting the Alt Mile SP pack and ended up buying it off someone and ended up pulling it at my locals for $200. Just really shouldn't have, especially that lost value really quick. But I was just like, I need it. I need it for my Royal Paladin soul, so yeah. Royal Paladin Nutty Main. In fact, I just ordered the Sanctuary Guard set, and I will buy the upcoming Jewel Knight stuff as it comes out. I don't think I'm going to be investing into anything else for the V-Series, even though we're getting more products, except for the new Spectral Duke stuff, because that just looks fun, and it's going to be a really cheap deck. I ended up ordering everything that wasn't going to be in there, inside the reprints, inside anything that wasn't going to be inside the clan selection. That's the word I'm looking for. I ended up ordering for like $20, and most places are saying that like a clan selection bundle where you get a place of every card of that's gonna be like 40, maybe $50 tops. So that means like it was gonna be like $60-$70 for the Special Duke deck, and it seems like it'll be fun. And so yeah, I'll end up putting that together. I'll end up finishing all the currently confirmed Royal Paladins for the V series, and of course, with that being said, we'll end up going to the Keter Sanctuary. But you may be noticing that I'm not really talking much about the end of V series at all. Like, I've kind of gone through everything, but I kind of like, oh yes, Royal Paladin Nutty Main. So V series happened. And that's because V series happened. I was a super big fan of it. At first I was like, yes, if I really want to go back to the super complex stuff of G, I can. But, here we are with a much simpler game, and I was actually fine with that. But then we got to the problem of Bushy decided to say, alright, Standard is going to be our main competitive format. And I was like, what? Because that was a horrible idea. Premium should have been the competitive format, but they kept pushing it so much in Japan that it barely plays Premium. So, that's what ended up happening, pretty much. And now we're in this weird spot where they kept just trying to make a standard simpleness into the competitive C, which honestly is like some of the most boring card design ever. Of course, they actually did, I think, pretty well with Royal Paladin. I think they kind of kept being very ingenuitive with how to make Blaster Blade support better, and even when we got to Alt Mile, it ended up creating something really cool there. And then we get to Sanctuary Guard, and I could be disappointed. It is the best card, is the best boss card we currently have for Royal Paladins in the V series, but it does not synergize at all with anything. It's not like his original form is like, oh yeah, I'm going to superior call out some grade 1s, and I'm going to call some power, and those grade 1s can chain together. Now he's just like, rest 3 grade 1s in the back row. Restand. And I'm like, okay, like, it's a strong card, and I like the art, but the effect's just disappointing to me as a Royal Paladin player. I may be the only one who thinks that, but I'm pretty disappointed with Sanctuary Guard's effect. Not because it's bad, it's the best card we have. It's pretty much the issue I had with Thingsaver, which actually, I guess we can talk about that. So, Thingsaver, great card. Never played it. You know why? It's not because I didn't have access to it, because I eventually did, even whenever it was strong. It's because it was not Royal Paladin. It was a fun card, and it was a good card, but it just wasn't Royal Paladin, and it was the face of Royal Paladin. And Sanctuary Guard, at least in the B series, is on track to probably do the same. And unless we get more standard Jewel Knights and future premium or future B series boosters that we end up getting. So, yeah, there's that. And, but hey, you know, Jewel Knights, they look fun, and at least and they're generic enough to fit in with everything. So, good on that. But now we are here with the upcoming D series, the new standard with overdress. You know, Royal Paladin is technically no more. We now have Keter Sanctuary, but the first batch of Keter Sanctuary is Royal Paladin themed, so good on me. Can't wait to see how they end up handling that. And even if I don't competitively play standard, I'm gonna keep making sure that I can build some of this stuff. Like, there's a lot of jank stuff Royals have, and I love it, and I cannot wait to see what I end up creating with all of it. And, yeah, maybe one day I can actually play Star Call here and not feel bad about it. I got my IMRs, you know, Blaster Blade, Blaster Dart. Why can't I play this in standard, or in the V-Series, you know, freaking Bushy? It's the same card. Why can't I play this? I can play it in Premium. Admittedly, I'd want to technically play this version because it says that, or these are all the same ones. They're all my Majesty deck. Because they say that they are a Royal Paladin set. I don't have to worry about the trigger ruling if Blaster Dark's my only unit on the field. And, yeah. We'll just end up keeping going into the future. And now you're going to need to get a new binder for Keter Sanctuary. And, that's just me. Yeah. I never know how to end a video. Well, anyways, comment down below what your guys' stories is, or make video responses. I really just want to know. I really enjoyed this game and the community and all that comes with it. So, as always, keep playing the games you want to play and have fun.